At the beginning of the movie, a girl named Julia in a wig lays explosives in the US Embassy building. As soon as the girl goes outside, the building explodes. Inspector Lee and Carter are driving at night in the city of Gangok. Next to them in the car stop. Girls, Carter tries to say something in Chinese, but the girls are shocked and leave.
Hey, where you going? Let's get some sushi! Hey!
It turns out that Carter said the wrong word. Carter is on vacation. Looking at Lee, he says that he came to Gangkok for a vacation and says that Lee promised him. Suddenly, Lee's boss calls him and tells him about what happened at the US Embassy. The boss says he will understand if he refuses to take the job, but Lee agrees, saying he is fine. The last Chinese words he said, Carter remembers and looks at the notebook. Then he looks for a translation and gets angry with Lee. Carter says he will ruin his vacation with this agreement, but Lee's reply tells him that his boss invited them to have fun. They go to a bar. Carter looks at a singer singing a Michael Jackson song. It's disgusting.
I can't take no more of this, man.
Lee's goal was to look for triad thugs. On his way out, he saw Carter singing on stage. He went backstage and called Carter and told him that the full mafia is here. Ricky Tanna. Carter tells him that they need to find a man and that they are here on a special assignment and they better get out of here quietly. Carter tells him that it will not be quiet and that they will show them who they are. Carter comes on stage and tries to say something in Chinese. People have surprised looks. Then, he comes up to Lee and asks him what he said. Lee tells him the translation and makes us laugh.
To pick up their samurai swords and shave your butt. I said that?
Then Carter goes on stage with Lee and says that Lee will translate. When Lee started to joke about his friend, suddenly Yuli appears. Lee immediately runs after her. So, does Carter. Carter sees everyone climbing up the bamboo tree, so he decides to climb the ladder from the inside. Lee fights with those on top. Suddenly Yuli comes up and pushes him. Lee is stuck in the bamboo tree. When Carter gets up to help Lee, Yuli comes up behind him and pushes Carter. Both hang from the same bamboo tree and fall to the ground. The next day, Carter looks at Lee and says he can't believe he tricked him. Lee apologizes and tells him about the embassy situation. He says there was an explosion and that Americans died. Lee stops somewhere. Carter asks for the place. Lee tells him they came to a massage parlor called Heaven on Earth. Carter immediately smiles. He enters the room and says he will pay himself. A curtain is opened in front of Carter, and Carter sees a lot of girls. Carter's eyes are on fire after Carter has chosen a few girls. The salon manager tells them he will take them to a quiet place. Carter replies that he does not guarantee quiet. Lee and Carter get a massage. Suddenly Ricky Tan comes in. Lee looks at Carter and says he will call for help. Because Ricky Tan is a very dangerous man, he leaves to call for help. And Carter approaches Ricky Tan and tells him to get up from his seat. He orders Ricky Tan to come with him, but Ricky Tan doesn't pay attention. Then Carter throws the laptop out of Ricky Tan's hands and stomps his foot on it. Lee comes up to them and invites Ricky Tan to talk to him in his office. When Ricky refuses, Lee makes a gesture to Carter. Carter wants to push Ricky, but Ricky's men get up out of their seats. Carter looks at Lee and says why didn't he tell him that Ricky Tan's men were here? Lee says he did. He gestures that he should go the other way, but he goes the other way, and a fight breaks out. When they all got killed, many more of Ricky Tan's men came in. They leave Lee and Carter naked in the street. They go to Lee's office. Carter is angry with Lee. He says that because of him he walked naked in the streets of Gangkok. Lee leaves the office. He talks to a US policeman. The officer looks at Lee and says that they will handle it themselves and that they will find the culprit who blew up the US Embassy buildings. They ask that Carter and Lee do not disturb them. Carter remembers that he left his papers at the massage parlor, so he goes there. At this time, Yuli comes in and puts an explosive device in Lee's room again. When Lee goes to his office, the office explodes. Lee regains consciousness and runs to the office, thinking that Carter is still there. Carter is on the streets of Gangkok and asks people for the address of a massage parlor. He goes to the market, buys clothes and changes clothes. Lee is sad, saying that Carter exploded in the office. Carter walks down the street and sees Ricky Tan. He catches a cab from the neighborhood and follows Ricky Tan. When Lee is driving a car, he gets a call from his boss telling him to get involved in the case. In fact, he says that this job is a police job in Gangkok. In the evening, Carter comes to the yacht, which is called Red Dragon. All the way there, he has annoyed the cab driver, so that the cab driver immediately leaves in a rage. Carter enters the yacht and sees a girl, goes up to her, and gets acquainted. The girl's name is Isabella. Carter tells her that his yacht is also her yacht. The girl looks at Carter and asks if it is really his yacht. Then the girl asks the name of the yacht. Carter says the name of the yacht differently. And then the girl says that it is her friend's yacht, and the yacht is called Red Dragon. Then her friend comes over. His name is Steven. He owns this yacht, and he's one of the rich people. Lee also comes to this yacht. Lee catches one man, Ricky Tan, and asks about Ricky Tan. Suddenly Carter shows up. Lee is surprised to see him and wonders if it's you. Carter tells him, "Who is he? This you." This moment is a must-watch. While they are arguing with each other, one of Ricky's men comes in and says that Ricky Tan is waiting for them. Lee and Carter go to Ricky's room. At this point, outside the yacht, Ricky is putting on a show in his own way, yelling at his man Yuli. Then Ricky looks at Lee and says that he doesn't trust anyone but him. He says that his men go behind his back and do things. He says he's not guilty of blowing up the embassy. Suddenly Yuli comes up and shoots Ricky. Then Yuli leaves. Lee and Carter fight with Yuli's men. Then, a US police officer looks at them and says that Ricky was their perfect bait. And now Lee and Carter killed him out of their own personal revenge. In short, the officer dismisses them from the case, saying that they're no match at all. The US police want to send Carter back to his country. Lee says he will drive him, and they arrive at the airport. As they get out of the car, Lee tells Carter that his father died because of Ricky Tan. Then Carter looks at Lee and says that his father also died at work. Then he asks if he has money for a ticket. So they get on the plane and go to the USA. After that, they rent a room in a hotel. They watch Isabella and Steven. After a while, Steven leaves. Isabella is alone in the hotel room. Suddenly, after a while, a girl in a wig brings something to Isabella. Carter watches this and remembers that this is the woman who brought the bomb into Lee's office. Lee and Carter run to the house where Isabella is, thinking it might explode. The two of them go into Isabella's house, take things from her hands, and climb up on the roof and throw the thing out. Isabella comes over and says it's not some kind of explosive device and tells them to go into her house. They go in, and Isabella introduces herself to them. It turns out she works as a secret agent. She looks at them both and asks if they will work with her in the secret agency. Lee and Carter agree. The first task is to find who is making fake money. Lee and Carter go to an acquaintance who works in a Chinese restaurant. This restaurant owner is a bit angry and starts to fight with Lee. During the fight, both grab each other in the same way. Lee tells him that this method is the claw of the tiger. Lee's teacher and the black kid's teacher were brothers. When asked why they came, Carter says they're looking for fake money brought to him recently, and they want to check it out. When they check the money, it turned out to be counterfeit. Then the owner of the restaurant says that the one who brought the money is called Zing. Lee and Carter come to look for Zing. One of the employees runs away. Lee and Carter immediately chase him and get trapped. Julie and her men are waiting for them. And after a while, Isabella comes and hits Lee in the head with a pistol. Lee and Carter are tied up in the back of a truck. Carter says that the woman Isabella betrayed them. In response, Lee says that Isabella helped them, and if it was Julie, she would have killed them. The two start fighting with each other. Suddenly, one of the statues falls down. Turns out these statues are full of money. They get free, and Carter collects some money. The car stops, and the two of them get out. They fight with some people who are outside. Then they run away. After a while, they see that they have arrived in Vegas. There is a building called the Red Dragon. They both get out, change clothes, and enter a building called the Red Dragon. While they're having fun, a girl runs up and takes Lee's hand. It turns out to be Isabella. She says that she had to do it, and that she is still playing a part. Then Carter arrives, and Isabella leaves. Lee tells Carter that he needs to get inside where the money is being made. Carter says he will give a sign, and then he can sneak in. So Carter plays in the casino. At some point, Carter starts making a fuss. Taking advantage of this moment, Lee sneaks into the money-making area. A few people notice Lee there. A fight breaks out, and eventually Lee falls into Julie's trap. Yuli puts an explosive in Lee's mouth and tapes his mouth. When they get to the office, Lee sees that Ricky Tan is alive. Even Isabella is with him. Lee feels humiliated and cheated. Ricky Tan leaves Yuli and Isabella and leaves. At this time, Isabella pulls out a gun and says she is a secret agent and tells them to raise their hands. Suddenly, a fight breaks out on both sides. The two girls fight each other. Then Yuli kicks Lee and he falls right in the middle of the people. And the bomb remote in Yuli's hand falls down. Lee approaches Carter and gestures for him to open his mouth. Yuli hurts Isabella. Then Yuli goes down and finds the remote. Carter manages to get the tape out of Lee's mouth. Lee spits out what's in his mouth, and the place explodes. As the two continue to run, Yuli throws a spear. Carter looks at Lee and says he'll take care of this girl. Carter and Yuli start fighting. A very mature performance. Ricky Tan kills his partner Steven. At this point, Lee arrives. Lee takes Ricky Tan down with a few punches, then he starts interrogating Ricky Tan. Carter arrives too, and Ricky Tan looks at Lee and tells him all about how he killed his father on purpose. Carter tells Lee not to listen to Ricky Tan. And Ricky Tan does it on purpose. When Lee gets angry, Rick tries to run away. At that moment, Lee kicks him nicely, and Ricky falls to the ground. Carter says it was a good punch. Suddenly, Julius comes in carrying explosives. They both jump over the rope. The next day, Isabella thanks Lee, and Carter watches from outside. Then they say goodbye. As Carter is about to leave, Lee stops Carter and gives him his father's police badge. Carter says thank you to Lee, that it means a lot to him. Carter takes out a wad of money and gives it to Lee. Lee tells him he doesn't need it. Carter gets angry and says he doesn't have to be a cop all the time. Sometimes cops need a vacation. Carter says he wants something in his life too. Then Lee thinks about it and says he's dreamed of going to Madison Square Garden since he was a kid. Carter says, smiling, well, then to LA. And that's how the movie ends. It's a really great movie. See you again.